The Israel Defense Force is non-committal about yesterday's bombardment of the hospital in Gaza.
Almost 500 people died when the hospital was attacked in Gaza, with both Hamas and Israel blaming each other for the attack.
SABC News earlier spoke to a representative of the Israel Defense Force.
The loss and death of any civilian, it does not matter if they are Israeli or if they're living in Gaza or if they're in South Africa or where they are. The death of a mother and a child, a baby, a father is something that is enormously painful and is something that needs to be held sacred. And the IDF does what it can to achieve its operational goals to avoid harming civilians, which is why we have asked civilians to leave the area so that we can go forward with destroying Hamas. However, you have to understand, and this is the key to answering your question, on the other side, you have a terror organization that does not value human life. It is dedicated to death. The religion is death. They want to kill Israelis, and they also know that when they will do so, Israel will come back to defeat them. And what do? They put their civilians in buildings, and they put all of their weapons beneath the civilians, so that when we try to get them, civilians, God forbid, can die. The atrocities that are being carried out only by Hamas because they are doing it intentionally. The IDF never intentionally targets a civilian, never. As a matter of fact, we take major operational losses to allow civilians to leave the area.
When you say civilians must leave the area, you are talking about Palestinians, ordinary Palestinians, who have no say in terms of activities of Hamas, and they have nowhere to go. The other argument is that when they leave their area with the hope that they will come back, we see the annexation and settlements where people are taking over their land. And this leads to even more complex, protracted conflict. How can they move when they have nowhere to go, when you have Egypt saying no, because when they come, the chances of them returning back is very slim, which creates more problems?
I would like to ask you and your viewers a question. When was the last time that there was an Israeli living in the Gaza Strip?
The Palestinians are saying if they get an instruction or an order to leave because the IDF wants to hunt Hamas, they are too many. Moving 1 million people in 48 hours, in 3 days, and they don't even have facility where they are going. They would rather die where they are because they don't know what their future holds for them if they leave. And that is why I'm saying, when are the two sides going to look at resolving this problem so that Israelis and Palestinians can live with peace? Because they do, both sides deserve to live in harmony and peace, both sides.
Again, I will bring us back to the beginning. 13, 14 days ago, on Saturday, October 7th, there were no Israelis living inside Gaza, no Israelis occupying Gaza. Israelis had no thought of going to war. Nobody knew. As you know, we were surprised, and unfortunately, our civilians were slaughtered. We have no interest in going to war with Gaza. Hamas launched this war. They broke any harmony. There are no Israeli settlers in Gaza. For 19 years, no Israelis have been living in Gaza. They have had access to enormous amounts of international aid and money provided by the entire world. This money that is owned by Hamas goes to weapons, which are now being fired against Israel, not to schools, not to hospitals, not to create people who want the harmony you are discussing. They have educated an entire generation of people not to want harmony, rather to kill Israelis. And that is a tragedy. If you want me to answer the question, and I will, when will there be a chance for harmony? The answer is when there is no more Hamas. Because the people of Gaza, as you said, they have no say, because Hamas is not a democracy. They are a cruel, ruthless dictatorship. The only time the people of Gaza and the people of Israel will ever have a chance to get along is when Hamas is destroyed. And in order to do that, we've asked citizens to move only 8 miles out of the way. We're not talking about moving from South Africa to America. We're talking about 8 miles out of the way, and they can do this. We have moved many Israelis. They are able to move out of the way so that we can go after Hamas, as you mentioned, hunt them down. They are killers, and they need to be neutralized. And then we can begin a new page and hopefully have harmony.
You are saying Palestinians are teaching their children to be brutal. The same goes to your side, where some in Palestine, or those who are sympathetic to the Palestinians, are saying Israel is doing the same. The hatred is being perpetrated from your side as well.
I disagree with you. And the proof is that Israel had no offense whatsoever with Gaza. We had no interest in going into Gaza, no interest with war in Gaza. No child woke up on Saturday 2 weeks ago and said, I want to invade Gaza. Not at all. Hamas in Gaza, which are the rulers in Gaza, planned and executed a massacre against Israeli civilians. And there were thousands of them that did this. You cannot create something that is equal between Hamas and terrorism and Israel. It is incorrect to do so. And when we do this, when we make this mistake, what this does is this legitimizes Hamas. You have to understand, Hamas is a terror organization. They do horrible things to Israel. They do terrible things to their own people. They have taught about hatred. Their school books are full of hatred. You will not open a single school book in Israel that talks negatively about an Arab or Palestinian, not a single one. Theirs are full of hatred. You can find it online. They are not the same. They are not the same. And to say that they are the same, what it does, it perpetuates Hamas. And unfortunately, that keeps the Gazan people in a cycle of a humanitarian situation.
Let's look at what transpired yesterday. Both sides are denying that they were involved. They don't want to take responsibility, be it Hamas, the so-called jihad, including just ordinary Palestinians. Now, will Israel allow independent investigation by investigators that are perhaps likely going to be appointed by the world body, the UN? Will you cooperate with the investigation? Because this was a war crime, and it is a crime against humanity. It is a case of the International Criminal Court.
The war crimes that have been committed have been solely committed by Hamas.
No, let's say about yesterday.
Territory and to massacre innocent civilians is a war crime. To go back to Gaza and to force your population to stay where they are in a war zone is a war crime. Israel never commits a war crime. Israel never, ever hits a civilian target. Israel only hits military targets. Israel, when this explosion occurred, Israel took 3 to 4 hours to examine. We found out that there was information from 2 Hamas members, which we released to the public, the open public, in which they discussed and acknowledged that the rockets were launched by Islamic Jihad. If you want an independent source, there was an Al Jazeera live video that filmed Palestinian Islamic Jihad launching the rocket. We can see the rocket explode in the air, and we can see it land at the site. We also know that Israel had no activities in the area whatsoever. And we
Will you cooperate with the investigation? Will you cooperate with the investigation?
That verify that this was done. Now, my question to you is this. You are asking Israel to cooperate in all types of investigations. Does it not seem to you to be strange that 1 minute after the blast in the hospital, Hamas immediately blamed Israel? Do you think it is possible for someone to determine the source of a blast the moment that it happened?
That is why I'm saying,
no.
That is why I'm saying, will you cooperate with the independent investigation? I will ask other parties the same question, whether they will cooperate. And that question, or this question, is objective, not blaming anybody. Will you cooperate with independent investigation?
I believe that all of the actions of the IDF, and especially this action, which has caused enormous concern and resulted in, apparently, and I say apparently not because I don't care, apparently the death of Gazans, because the Hamas has not allowed anybody into the area. We also provided satellite photographs which show that the hospital itself was not hit. The only thing that was hit was the parking lot. There may have been people in the parking lot, but we have no verification for any of these numbers. As time goes on and we are able to fully examine these things, we will release more and more information. As you heard, the President of the United States was privy to information, and he himself understood that this was carried out by Palestinian Islamic Jihad, and we will cooperate with whoever we need to cooperate with to prove the story. And at the end of the day, this is an unfortunate tragedy against Gazan civilians. We have to remember one thing. The source of the humanitarian crisis in Gaza is Hamas. If we want the Gazan people to live a better life, Hamas has got to be eliminated. That is the only way for this to take place.